this is another example that proves that
Sure.
women do not care who they date.
Sure.
All
But
just
that's the
comes
thing,
from
like,
pride.
they want the 1% of men.
They only told
Is it the
us.
1% of
Yeah.
men? They want the 1% of men. And the 1% of men in South Africa are criminals. Unfortunately, like, there's no other way about it. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? That's why not everybody turns a blind eye. Everybody turns a blind, because
It's bad.
Okay, so for those who don't know, let's rewind real quick and explain who Thabo Biester is. Thabo is a father of 3 daughters and is a man with an incredibly long and sordid history. But briefly, for many years he would target young women, some in their teens, majority in their 20s, promising them lucrative online modeling jobs. He often reached out to them through Facebook, which is where he received his moniker. Although he was a convicted fraudster at the time, he operated online with up to 13 different aliases at one point. And an extremely long story short, he would eventually be convicted of murder in 2012 after ending the life of his 26-year-old girlfriend at the time, Nomfundo Taihulo, in September of 2011. He had stabbed her in the chest before fleeing with her cell phone and laptop. And he would later state that he did not know why he did it. In 2012, he was eventually sentenced to 50 years, which was later commuted to 30 years, as well as a life sentence for her murder. The sentences were set to run concurrently. He was serving the sentence in a private prison managed by a multinational security company. And he was pretty much out the spotlight until May of 2022, last year, when a fire broke out and shortly after a body was found, burnt beyond recognition under a mattress in his cell. It was assumed that it was, of course, his body. However, recently more news came into the public's knowledge. Firstly, it turns out that the body was dead before the fire started, even though the death was initially thought to be as a result of his own intent. Next, according to a broadcaster from ENCA, in a press conference held shortly after the story broke, to the public that is, the body found in the cell at the time of the fire had not been confirmed to be Thabo's through DNA testing. Basically, that meant that any DNA testing that may have been done was inconclusive.
He's done so much that it's like you don't even know where to start being alarmed. Like, you don't know like what to be shocked at, because he's just too much. And he's been like this for years. Like, remember what I was saying earlier is that he's not just any scammer or like criminal. He keeps up with the times, like as time advances, he also advances in his craft, and which makes someone like that very, very dangerous. Like, a person like that is very dangerous and very untouchable in many cases.
Yeah, so Thabo Biester is, in my opinion, he's a criminal mastermind.
Yeah.
Like, genius level criminal mastermind. He's been doing this for years, but eventually he did get caught. But you can't keep that kind of man in jail.
To be honest, he was playing like a Dharma, in the sense where he's like, he got to a point where he didn't care. Do you get what I mean? Like, he was reckless about things, like doing things very recklessly. There were times where he was meeting his victims and he didn't care, like if the CCTV cameras were catching him.
He was known to be nonchalant about keeping low profile, often meeting his victims in upmarket hotels well in the eye of CCTV cameras.
And to the point where he even killed a woman in a public place, like in not a public place, but like, was it a hotel, like the motel room vibes. In most cases, people who are like serial killers or serial somethingers, I feel like at some point they do like the rush of wanting to get caught at some point.
Like, his whole life story, I believe, should be in a documentary, or
it should definitely be in a documentary,
a Dharma style miniseries or movie, because he's such an interesting character. Like, he's so interesting that he could be like a supervillain in one of his comic book movies. Yep. He could be part of Batman's Rose Gary or whatever.
Like that guy Biester. Like, he'll be,
that kind of supervillain that does crazy shit.
Yep.
Gets caught, goes to jail, and breaks out again.
And I feel like his story would be big even internationally. Like this is serious. This is like, I know we're sounding right now like we are like, wow, whoa.
Some of the stuff he's done is crazy.
It's crazy. This is like next level stuff that I didn't really think somebody in South Africa would be able to do. But I do kind of think there's many more kind of business out there that we're not aware of.
Like, he's in prison but he's
like
holding
imagine
seminars,
he was holding seminars,
business meetings.
that is like you
running
have
a
to
whole
be
company
you
in
have to
prison.
be a serious person to do shit like that. You have to be a serious person. You have to have correctional service officials on your side. You even have to have some sort of, I don't know, minister vibes or minister on your in your court. Like
Thabo Bester for me is proof that some people are born to be scammers. Like, you know, like there are some people who are born to be leaders.
some are
people,
born to be doctors.
Doctors or whatever. There are some who are born
Who are just born to be scammers.
He's like the perfect example. Because
he's a super scammer.
He's intelligent. He knows the system. He knows how to manipulate the system.
Exactly.
But instead of using that intelligence,
get people to work for him.
Instead of using that intelligence to do things in a legitimate way, he uses it in an illegal way. Most scammers are like that. They're so intelligent, they can see flaws in the system and exploit that. See, this is another point as to why rehabilitation.
If you don't believe in it.
Yes, rehabilitation fails.
Well, I don't think a lot of effort is put into rehabilitation.
You can only be rehabilitated if you want to be rehabilitated.
Yeah, that's true.
And most of these guys do not want to be rehabilitated. Yeah. They don't like.
I think because the system is like, it's become in such a way that for a lot of people it's better to be in prison.
Yeah.
So
I get that, because now the prison system, inside the prison, there are gangs and there's like hierarchies and all that stuff there. So
people run businesses from prison
and stuff like that. So some people will go into prison and become more prominent or more of a prominent figure in that society than outside. So that's why some people would like to go back to prison and stuff.
Because their lives make more sense in prison.
But on top of Bester, so his main problem, his main flaw is that he's reckless.
He's reckless.
When he got out of prison,
he gets comfortable. The nigga gets comfortable. He got comfortable the first time. That's why I feel like he got caught. Then now, at some point, you will get comfortable as a person, because I think he's been chilling for a long time. Like, he's been chilling for a long time. But like,
that fire thing happened
last year, wasn't it?
So it's almost a year now he's been out.
No, it's so interesting. Like, if it wasn't for that person who recognized him and took snaps, this would probably still be like unknown information, and Thabo Bester would be free and wandering the street.
But his main problem is that he's reckless. Like, there was no reason for him to, after leaving jail, still be within.
And I'm pretty sure Dr. Nandi did tell him, hey, you gotta keep a low profile, but he's like arrogant.
He could have skipped the country, or he could have went to a remote location where people will not recognize him. All that stuff there, but I don't know. It was very reckless of him.
And it's a very short time. Like, come on, the thing is still fresh. Then you want to be.
He probably thought that people
don't recognize him.
People will not recognize him because they.
But then it's been years. Yeah, they assume that he's dead, so nobody's looking for Thabo Bester.
That can't be Thabo Bester because he's dead.
Because he's dead. But then the fumble is that you can't be with Nandi, like,
if he was on his own, I think he would have.
Exactly, because you can't be telling us Nandipa's dating only people that look like Thabo Bester. Like, no. And the story with Nandipa for me just stuck. It was a bit confusing, because didn't he go to jail like after the other girlfriend that he killed? Vibes like he kind of been in jail for a long time. There wasn't much knowledge about him and Nandipa going to jail. And then the only thing is, like, Nandipa spotted when she went to go identify the body. Like,
how do you think that came about?
I feel like it's one of the relationships that came about whilst he was in prison. And I feel like for some reason Nandipa has some connections inside or whatever, and they met for whatever reason, like while he was inside. Maybe she does work, I don't know, help out his correctional services or whatever. I don't know. That's just speculation on my end. But like, kind of feel like that probably was the case, because this is what, like how a lot of prisoners have these relationships with prison wardens and things like that and all of that, or those people that go and help out and whatever, and then they end up having these connections on the outside, and then Nandipa started driving the business for him on the outside, because that's where she was assisting pushing most, right, on the outside. I don't know, was she also involved in the conference thingies? She was also involved in the conference vibes, man.
But I think like this TikTok says that he was running her businesses on.
Yes, he was running her businesses on her behalf from prison.
Also, to further the alleged involvement of the two, it also appears that the same man that was spotted out shopping with her has also allegedly been conducting business on behalf of a company she owns, Aram Holdings. Screenshots from Zoom meetings with a similar looking character have emerged too. And some of the business negotiations that have been going on since whilst Thabo was still allegedly in prison.
And I think she knew how smart this guy is, but all of that was known in the process of him being in jail. So however that happened, you're telling me like there was a whole conference full of people and nobody knew the Thabo Bester story.
Yeah, they're not checking for him. People assume he's in prison, so they're not checking for him.
Oh, but he was posing as Mutsipe's son or something like that. Are you telling me all of those people, even those famous people that were there?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole Thabo Bester story for me is weird. Well, I didn't know.
Weird.
Well, at the time when he was doing his things, and
Tom Mutsipe or something like that.
When he got caught and when he got convicted, I didn't know about this story. I'm only hearing about this story now. So I'm pretty sure quite a lot of people did not hear about this story. Yeah. So they didn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Sure, and just his bad luck, there was that one person who had to take that picture and bring it to social media and be like, guys, is this not Thabo Bester? And it was over for him.
So let's talk about, I want to talk about how women don't care. Women, this is another example that proves that women do not care who they date.
Sure.
We have Dr. Nandipa here, a very prominent doctor.
Yeah.
With a nice career for herself.
She's a celebrity doctor, a serious one. High profile doctor.
All that kind of stuff. And then she falls in love with a criminal. Doesn't care what he's done before. Doesn't care that he's a rapist.
In there for rape and murder.
Doesn't care for none of that. Right? That he's a scammer. He doesn't care for
it's
none
my
of
man. I'm
falls in love and risks her entire life. Now she's on the run because apparently she's scared.
Was that money worth it? Is that money worth it?
It's not. I don't think it was about money for her.
Yeah.
I think she actually loves that nigga. I think she actually
because this is the kind of stuff you do for someone you in love with, like, and helping them escape from jail. She didn't need money like that. But that's quite hectic. But it happens, like this is the problem. No, this is the thing. Like, I feel like we women have this thing of like always looking for the best in people, right? Even in men, men are like trash generally. I'm kidding, but like we look for the best in y'all. Okay, we dig there. We dig, to find the best. I'm kidding. But like, no, I'm kidding about that. But I'm serious about the whole thing. Women like to look for the best in people. So like that's why it's easy for us. How it's easy for women to be fooled. Like
it's
women get fooled. It's not that you ignore. Well, you do ignore. You ignore at some point, but like it's a process to get to the point of ignorance. You don't just get to it. It's like him convincing you, firstly, like, oh, I'm not that person or whatever, or convince you that it was an accident, or, like really convince you and play the victim in the situation, and you really buy it. Sometimes that thing happens, and some of them can really believe in their innocence to the point where they'd actually like, oh no, my man is innocent. You know what I mean?
So to me, this just proves that women really do not care about what you do and what you've done. As long as you can provide for them, that's the lifestyle that they want, and you make them happy. They just do not care. Look at Dr. Nandipa, Thabo Bester. She destroyed her whole career for this one man. There's another example. Nonku
like she'll never be that doctor ever again.
Nonku from the Real Housewives of Delaware. Convicted rapist.
A rapist, a convicted rapist, and she's willing to risk it all for her rock diamond.
Yeah, this just goes back to the video we made the other time about it girls like loving to date criminals. This whole thing is just another example of that.
But that's the thing, like they want the 1% of men. Is it the 1% of men? They want the 1% of men. And the 1% of men in South Africa are criminals. Unfortunately, like there's no other way about it. So it's like, well, what are you gonna do? That's why now everybody turns a blind eye. Everybody turns a blind because
it's bad. Yeah, but Thabo Bester to me is like he's a super villain. He's a criminal mastermind. He's like borderline Pablo Escobar level. Like it's very rare that we such high profile criminals do such a elaborate prison break.
Like he made a successful one.
Yeah, it was successful.
Like a lot of people people escape prison, but they get caught. And he successfully did it to the point where even correctional services, like, come on, are you telling me, well, was the body burnt beyond recognition?
Like,
was it that bad?
So yes, most probably it is. So understand, he killed somebody, put the body in his prison cell, started the fire and burnt it beyond recognition, so that people.
That is evil.
Like this is a super villain.
This is a super villain.
He's
like
not
think about it. Yes. So somebody was killed, put in his cell.
We don't even know who this person is.
We don't know who the person is.
So just imagine.
Unidentified Muntabandu who went down to breed Thabo Bester.
And then on top of that, it's unfortunate for his victims.
Nandipa is also Kosekel, man.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Evil.
She's a terrible person.
She's evil.
But then, love makes people.
Love can make you do crazy things.
Yeah, love makes people do.
Yeah.
So Dr. Nandipa is probably.
All she wanted was her happy fairy tale.
It only makes sense. It cannot be about money.
For the fairy tale.
It has to be love. That's the only. This is movie level type.
Yeah, this is exactly why we need a movie about this. We need a Thabo Bester movie.
Showmax on Netflix will do the story justice and make a documentary or movie. We're definitely gonna watch that.
We need one.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys let us know what you think about this whole situation.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Like, honestly, have you ever heard of something like this, especially in South Africa?
Don't forget to like, subscribe.
And keep watching. Bye.
We'll check you guys on the next one.